Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2022 Silver Circle Ceremony. I'm Barbara Alfonso, President of the Suncoast chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, and I am honored to celebrate this remarkable milestone with all of you. Before we begin, I would like to ask members of the NATA Suncoast Chapter Board of Governors who are here this afternoon to please stand. Thank you for all the work that you do for our chapter. Today we celebrate not only excellence and distinction in your contributions to our television industry, we also celebrate your contributions to the community as mentors, educators, and volunteers. This feels like such a full circle moment, coming out of the Student Production Awards just a couple of weeks ago, and seeing the students' outstanding work. We know many of those students not only grew up watching you, looking up to you and your work, but also being mentored by you. And now they are choosing a career in the industry as a result, carrying on the legacy you have established over the span of your careers. The Suncoast chapter of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences is proud to celebrate your accomplishments and contributions. And we are so proud to recognize you, our honorees, for 25 years or more of dedication to the television profession. This is the 34th annual Silver Circle celebration, and this year we are delighted to add 6 more honorees. Congratulations to all of this year's recipients. Let's get started. Please welcome our first presenter of the afternoon, Bill Scott, Executive Vice President, South Florida PBS.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be able to present to the Silver Circle Joyce Boulois. I'm privileged to be able to do that. Joyce, who's been a media professional for 28 years or a bit more, and I met only about 5.5 years ago, and it was a memorable experience. And some of you may have had similar types of experiences, even though they're not very frequent. You may recall, there's something about when you meet someone, you immediately know this is a special person. This is a person of character. This is a person of intellect. This is a person of commitment. This is a person of honesty. And that was exactly, it took maybe 2 minutes with Joyce, and I knew I was in the presence of that kind of person. And the times that's followed for these years, it has proven quite accurate and quite true. Joyce is modest and unassuming. She's been a professional, and she has the respect of the people with whom she works, and she respects the people with whom she works and who report to her. And she has people working for her, videographers, writers, producers, and does a brilliant job. I'm just going to take a few moments, and very few moments, just to go over some of the things which Joyce is responsible for, and her team as well. For example, she leads her team in the exploration and integration of new technologies as this industry is changing, and our missions remain the same, to serve, but how we do it is changing at rapid speed with the new things that are available, the new technologies such as artificial intelligence, virtual reality. Joyce is in the forefront of these things, and her team is as well. And she's working on developing programs using all of these technologies to the advantage of the people of South Florida. She manages in the area of education. She and her team are amongst the leaders in doing programs and projects in education. In addition, she manages a long-running program, Art Loft, which highlights the work and the artists and their work of this area, South Florida, and brings that information to the public. Another program that's been is now in its 14th season, the award-winning program Changing Seas. Changing Seas has gained national and international attention and recognition, and she oversees the production of that and the programming of also the groundbreaking 24/7 Health Channel in addition. It seems she is tireless and is involved in so many things. It's hard to imagine that she can do more, and yet she does. In addition, she is in charge of developing all of the budgets for these kinds of programs that we've mentioned. Public affairs programming also falls under her. And as one of the programs, Your South Florida is one that does a tremendous amount of work in providing information and understanding to the people of South Florida. She's also written and produced a documentary, Art Basel, A Portrait, and she's done so much more. I just want to take a second, though, on something that I think is truly unique and truly worthy of the attention, not just of South Florida and not just the people of the state, but the people of the entire country. As an example, there's been a lot of talk in recent years about more opportunities for women, people of color, Hispanic, in the areas of directing and producing movies. There's been a lot of talk, and people in the film industry, people I know and have worked with over the years, have talked the talk. But Joyce and her team have walked the walk. There is a series of programs in its 5th season now, I believe, and a project called Filmmaker. Filmmaker gives the young aspiring directors and producers of South Florida the opportunity and to be mentored, the opportunity to produce, the opportunity to direct, and the opportunity to work with mentors as they move forward in their careers. Joyce and the team work with these people, and it's been a remarkable result. And more than 60% of the participants in this particular project are women, people of color, and Hispanic. So while some talk the talk, Joyce and her team that she leads walk the walk and more and beyond that. Joyce has won many awards. She's won regional Emmys. She's won awards Telly Awards. But let me note that the lasting measure of Joyce's remarkable contribution can be found in the lives and, in fact, in the realized hopes of the people in South Florida that her work has touched. And in that area, that subject, lies her enduring greatness that we all celebrate today. As I said at the beginning, I've been privileged to be associated with her, to work with her, and to observe how this selfless person gets so much done of quality, of significance, and of importance. In the annals of our business, as the business changes as we go forward and the media changes, Joyce's contributions will be lasting indeed, and it's to the benefit of the people.
Joyce, not many people can remember your first day at Channel 2 so many years ago, but I remember that girl right out of college, bright-eyed and so full of dreams. And guess what? You've achieved a lot of those dreams. All the great shows that you've worked on, congratulations. Here's to many, many more years.
Something like that.
I was working in national production, and I always had the pleasure of anytime we needed something to be able to come downstairs and talk to you.
I have fond memories of Joyce Belois as a talented young producer working on New Florida and so many other production projects at Channel 2. Congratulations, Joyce, on your professional accomplishments.
This amazing accomplishment is another step in your professional journey.
Thank you for telling the stories that needed to be told and listening to the people that needed to tell them.
I remember walking into a programming meeting about 3 years ago at Channel 2. Her comments were so insightful and so creative and so helpful for our team.
She has been a rising star from day one. All throughout the growth and changes South Florida PBS has accomplished.
I've seen you grow up, and you've grown into such an incredible producer and businesswoman and an entrepreneur and someone that everyone looks up to. You are a mentor.
She is the kindest person you've probably ever met. I've never seen her get upset. I've never seen her swear. I've never seen her be anything but a fantastic person.
Not only have you produced brilliant, amazing work, you continue to lead South Florida PBS to an unwavering standard of excellence.
The quality that I admire the most about Joyce is her ability to juggle many projects with such ease, to the point that I will always ask her jokingly, Joyce, what medication are you on?
You are probably one of the busiest women at our station, and yet you always make time for us. You listen to our crazy ideas and help make them a reality.
You've been such a very positive influence on South Florida PBS, working on so many different projects, from Kid Vision way back from the day till now, Stargazers, Check Please, and changing. See so many things that you've done.
You've made the cultural landscape in South Florida richer with your contributions and with your insight.
Joyce, this is a great privilege for me to congratulate you on your contributions to WPBT and the South Florida television industry.
Congratulations, Joyce. Keep up the great work.
Congratulations, Joyce. I look forward to working on more projects with you.
Many, many days we spent next to each other in our two offices, which, let's face it, were actually old closets that had been cleared out and had no windows. But we were in there, we were proud to have these offices, and we just worked on stories.
I've always respected how you kept calm, cool, and collected under immense pressure.
I really can't imagine how different the Miami landscape for independent filmmakers would be without you. You've given so much to this community and given so many opportunities to the many independent filmmakers in our town.
Every time I see you at the station, you always have a smile on your face, and you make working there a very pleasurable environment.
She's a wonderful boss and has supported me and Kid Vision from the very beginning. She's always there for trauma and drama and for triumph.
Joyce, we are engaged, you and I, in this endeavor, launching the Health Channel. It's such an important channel. It was so important during the pandemic. I agree that we probably saved some lives with our information.
I appreciate your expertise and experience
as I always turn to you for your valuable input.
You always take the time out for us to listen to us, listen to our crazy ideas.
One of the things I was most proud of was when you quickly agreed to produce Check Please. That series was made for you.
I have known you now for 28 years, and we have worked together on many, many productions, side by side, taking all our wonderful original productions nationally.
If South Florida PBS has a secret weapon, it is you, Joyce. You are extraordinary and exceptional and an inspiration to us. How lucky we are to have you at South Florida PBS.
She's always kind, very supportive, and she really helps all of her employees. Congratulations, Joyce.
Joyce, Silver Circle Award? That's what happens when you work hard and you create exceptional content. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Joyce.
Hi, Joyce. Congratulations on this amazing honor.
You're my boss and my mentor, so I keep learning from you.
Congratulations, Joyce.
Here's to 25 more years and all the fun things we're going to do together. Congratulations.
That's a wrap.
Wow, that's a beautiful video, guys. Thank you. It is overwhelming to be honored to doing something that you just love to do. Thank you, Bill, for that introduction. I know we've only had the honor of working together for a relatively short time, but I feel so fortunate to be able to learn from someone like him who has made such a mark on the industry. He's an incredible mentor and advisor, but he also truly cares about people. And I so appreciate his willingness to be here today and to invest in my professional growth. I'm grateful to have grown up in this industry. I've had a long line of great bosses, some of whom are here today, like Neil Hecker and Bill Scott, as well as many amazing colleagues who inspire me to push harder and reach higher. Public television was not at all where I expected to land after college. I had plans to be a news reporter. And my very first internship was with investigative reporter Carmel Cafaro. And although the job was primarily screening lots of phone calls and writing up reports, it gave me the realization very early on that we're ultimately here to help people. We're here to uncover truth, to expose injustice, to provide perspective. After college, the door opened up to me on Sesame Street. Literally, that was where the WPBT studio was. And I took a job as a production secretary, and I found a place that felt like home, and a team that became family, and an environment where I could grow. So what more could anyone ask for? 28 years later, I still feel inspired by the challenges ahead, and I feel proud of what we've accomplished at South Florida PBS. I've had the opportunity to work on programs about history, the arts, travel, food, public affairs, and even shows for kids. I've learned that no matter the platform or the genre, we are all at our very core storytellers. And in a world that's increasingly fragmented and very often uncivil, stories can still connect us, and they can heal us, and they can inspire us. We're here to add clarity to conversations, to keep people informed so they can make intelligent decisions. And with that role, of course, becomes our responsibility to do our best to ensure we're presenting truth, even when that means taking the more difficult road, the one that requires that we question and that we dig and that we research and study and thoughtfully and carefully craft our words. At South Florida PBS, I feel so fortunate to have had mentors from the very beginning who invested in me, taught me, and ingrained those ideals into me. I know it's not cool to say you've been in the same place for your entire career, but my journey has been so rewarding there. Thank you to the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences for this incredible honor. I want to thank my amazing colleagues. I really love you guys. And of course, I'm eternally grateful to my family who supports me every day. I inherited a strong work ethic from my dad, who's here today. My husband, Ted, and my boys, Gio and Skylar, they keep me grounded and aware of what's truly important. My aunt, who's always been a second mom to me. And I want to dedicate this award to my mom, who was my biggest cheerleader. We lost her 4 years ago. Tomorrow would have been her 76th birthday. But she still continues to inspire me, the way she lived her life, with a strong faith and a focus on mentoring, supporting, and helping those around her. Thank you so much for this award. I'm truly blessed. Thank you.
Congratulations, Joyce. So well deserved. And it is my pleasure now to introduce the next presenter, Craig Stevens, WSVN anchor, Miami, Florida.
Good afternoon. It is a pleasure for me and a privilege and an honor to introduce Wink TV news anchor, investigative reporter, Emmy winner, and now Silver Circle inductee Chris Safadi. In the interest of full disclosure, we have been friends for a long time, for more than 35 years. I believe it was his junior year at the American University in Washington, D.C. I was attending a Montessori kindergarten at the time. A little bit of a jab there. See, I've been using that line for several years, and as I tell it, he's really a semester or two ahead of me, but the age gap grows every time I tell the story. This professional distinction is well-earned because for Chris, it has virtually been a lifetime of dedication to broadcast journalism, not being on TV, but being, or creating, that is, an effective and powerful and useful union between words and pictures to share information in the public interest. He has always taken it seriously, very seriously. All those years ago at American University, he was the student general manager at the student-run closed-circuit television station. I was a budding reporter, and for a wide range of reasons, I thought it not important to attend story meetings. Why would the GM be there anyway? Well, when I finally did roll into the office, I learned the hard way, in no certain terms, just how important my attendance would be at these meetings, and I never again missed a meeting. That might have been the time I thought, this guy is such an... But over the weeks and months that followed of cobbling together newscasts that ultimately we thought were rivaled anything being done in Washington, D.C. at the time, sorry, Tom, I grew to like him a lot. He's a smart guy. I grew to respect him even more. His judgment, his ethics, all of it impeccable. You couldn't throw him anything that he did not have a solution. From college broadcaster to main anchor in one of the most competitive TV markets you'll find in Florida, he remains the personification of the ideals for which we strive: accuracy, honesty, integrity, respect for his audience, and an unrelenting drive to serve the viewer. So I give to you, Chris Safadi.
News 4's Chris Safadi is in the state capitol. Chris, what has been going on there since the governor's order?
Many folks wanted it to feel like Christmas, and they got their wish. A couple found a young child walking in the middle of the road all alone. Cancer doesn't just threaten your life, it steals life from you.
Count on Chris Safadi.
Weeknights on Wink News.
What makes Chris Safadi a Silver Circle recipient? It's not just the years, but the quality of those years and the quality of his journalism. Even as a young boy, Chris dressed for the part. See, Chris? We know how to dig for the good stuff, too. Leadership defined him at a young age. At American University, Chris served as a GM for his college station. To Salisbury, Maryland, WMDT, where Chris was news director and main anchor.
I'm News 4's Chris Safadi with some upstate people who say they've been taken advantage of on home repairs.
To WYFF in Greenville, South Carolina, where Chris developed his signature style.
You don't have to be a math expert to figure this one out. Every time you pick up the receiver and dial, it'll cost you 60 cents.
Taking complicated subjects and breaking them down into common yet compelling language.
The Wink News I-Team. I-Team consumer investigator Chris Safadi.
In 2002, a fresh face showed up on Wink News. Chris made a name for himself going after the bad guys, exposing injustice, never afraid to tell the hard stories, the important stories.
The major decisions that come out of the discussions will happen in Washington, D.C. and here in Havana.
These are the 60 or 70 mile an hour gusts. We lost a satellite dish up here. We're about to lose an antenna over there, and you can hardly see.
Skills he's passing on to future journalists, working as an instructor at Florida Gulf Coast University.
Chris, or Mr. Safadi, is always willing to go above and beyond for his students.
Some of the best sound I've ever gotten for stories throughout the years is absolutely a result of having Chris as a teacher.
During my time at Wink News, I had a real hard time deciphering Professor Chris Safadi and colleague Chris Safadi. So in the beginning, I kept calling him Mr. Safadi, and he just looked at me and he was like, "We're colleagues now. You have to call me Chris."
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stacey Adams.
I'm Amanda Hall.
And I'm Lois Tomey. And the women. Chris has a special relationship with all his work wives, breaking new ground on the Night Beat with Stacey.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Amanda Hall.
I'm Chris Safadi.
Making the late news something worth staying up for with Amanda.
You know why it's never hungry?
Why?
Because BB ate.
We're out of time. Wow.
They're all laughing at home.
Right.
No, maybe not.
And putting up with Lois's nonsense on a daily basis. He's created on-air relationships viewers count on and trust.
For the folks in this part of Cape Coral, there's no real home to come home to.
Comfort and command in the field, getting things done on the anchor desk. And of course, those dimples. Chris Safadi's induction into the Silver Circle makes it shine all the brighter. Congratulations, Chris.
I know where the picture in the plaid came from. Oh my gosh. I'm a little choked up from watching that. Thank you all, especially some of the people at the station who helped to facilitate that. You know, when I found out how many people were involved in this, I wrote an acceptance speech and I wrote a rebuttal speech because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to need. But so many of the people that make whatever success I've had possible are here tonight or this afternoon. My boss, Tom Dorr, who lets us try things and do things and, you know, keep the journalism real, but don't be afraid to go out there and do something new. We couldn't do it without that. Our senior executive producer, Lenny Smith, who holds the whole place together. Every place has someone who holds the whole place together. Lenny is ours and lets us go out there and shine because we know he's got our back and our front and both sides at the same time. The two newest members of our night team, Russ McCaskey and Matt Devitt, I learn from watching you guys every day. I'm so glad you're here with us. I mean, you make us shine. Amanda Hall, one of my work wives. We spend most of the 11 o'clock news every night kind of figuring out what dessert we'd like to have. If we could have dessert right now, it kind of keeps us going, the fake sugar high. Corey Lazar, our morning anchor, and truly my little brother, one of the few people that I've ever, when your resume tape came in, I know you knew this story, the assistant news director showed it to me, and it took 15 seconds to say, we need to hire him. And we got a great reporter and a great anchor, and I got a little brother, so, and if there's anybody I'm leaving out, I cannot leave Craig out because he coordinated all of the things that I didn't even realize were still available on videotape, and a couple of them, I'm not quite sure where they are, but I'd like to know going forward, so I can control the flow of them from this point on. It seems like the other side of a dream. From all the times in college when we would sit, and the rule for any of our friends in college was whenever you went home, wherever you went, you had to bring back an air check. You had to record all the newscasts that you could on your VHS and bring them to us so that we could watch them. And we kind of just OD'd on news. We were going to do this. We were going to do it bigger or better. And I was so excited when I got that job in Salisbury, and I felt so accomplished after, I think, almost a year of bringing a milk crate of 3/4-inch tapes. Remember how heavy those were? A milk crate of those. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, 24-hour airport at LAX. The woman felt so bad for me when I would walk in with them. She would say, oh, honey, come back here on this side of the counter and just put them down and we'll mail them. I think it took 100 tapes before somebody returned a call. So now standing on this side of it, looking back at that, I'm just so grateful and humbled by all the things that I've been able to do. And everybody's got, 2 or 3 people when I told them about this said, you got to tell an embarrassing story, your most embarrassing story. So I'll tell one because it's quick and it's memorable. So at the station in Salisbury where I got that job, my job after not too long was to write, edit, and anchor the 11 o'clock news. in a building that was thankfully so small that my desk in the newsroom was about here and the anchor desk was right about there. So we could cut it down to 30 seconds. I could run out there and do it. On this particularly busy night, I didn't have time to put any powder on or anything, but I knew we had a reporter. So, go out, good evening, here's the story, here's the reporter. Package starts to play. I grab my little drugstore compact, because that's all I had, and I start doing the powder, and I'm listening to the package. Oh, that sounds pretty good. And I could kind of hear the air go out of the room, but I wasn't sure why. And they were all smart enough not to tell me till the end that the director had punched me up while I had my CoverGirl compact. And I was doing this and checking the mirror and doing a good 15 seconds. So at this little station that supposedly, according to Nielsen, that nobody watched, I was CoverGirl for a good year in that town. So the point of the story is it doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you end. And I'm just so grateful to everybody here. So thank you. One of the quotes that always inspires me when things get a little bit tough is, borrowed from Teddy Roosevelt, it's not the critic who counts, it's the person in the arena every day. This is an important arena to be in. So thank you for being in it with me, and thank you for this honor, and thank you for allowing me a couple of minutes to talk about how important it's been in my life. Thank you.
Please welcome our next presenter of the afternoon, Dennis Scholl, documentary filmmaker, president and CEO, Ulite Arts, Miami Beach, Florida.
Note to self, don't follow Bill and Craig as presenters. That's just something you learn with experience, I guess. And before I talk about this third Silver Circle winner, I want to give a shout out to my friends Joyce, who got one of these today, and my friend Francis, who got one last year but didn't get the benefit of a gathering like this. So I'm very proud of both of them. My name is Dennis Scholl, and I am an independent filmmaker, and I'm also a proud member of this Suncoast chapter. It's been a real exciting time for me to be part of this organization, and I'm really honored to be here today to introduce my friend and mentor, Neil Hecker. When I think about Neil, I think about two words, very simply. The first one is community, and the second one is service. He spent his entire career providing community access to the television airwaves. And I think that that's a very, very important idea of service, and it's one in which you're going to hear the word nonprofit over and over and over again. After being born in Brooklyn and graduating from SUNY Binghamton, he found himself and his dedication to public service. It took hold immediately. He oversaw a community program for one of the very first cable stations in Manhattan. Quickly found his way as a program director at the station, oversaw true public cable access. Kind of at its rawest, those of you who have been around for a while will remember what public cable access was like back then and how crazy it was. He and I talked about maybe telling some of those stories, but we decided in the interest of not offending people, we're not going to talk about that. But lucky for all of us, he then came down to South Florida and joined WPBT as a program manager, began to put together the station schedule. And I think it's at that point that he really found his true calling. He also understood early in his time how different this community is and the rapid changes that South Florida was going through. The other thing that's interesting about Neil to me is that if you were born in the 50s or the 60s, you're on the other side of the digital divide. Between you and kind of the youngsters that have come after you. But somehow Neil has been able to remain relevant and part of and bridge that digital divide. He was part of the team that launched YouView, which is a digital internet channel that came out only a couple months after YouTube. I met Neil soon thereafter, and I think it's fair to say that his impact on me personally was profound. As an independent documentary filmmaker who had started pretty late in life, I had never worked at a station, I'd never been in the industry, and I sure as heck didn't know how to gain access to the airwaves. And Neil saw something in me, in my work, that I didn't even know was there, and he encouraged me to continue to create content, both as a director and a producer. He has always been adamant about the importance of quality, never settling when something could be better. he has helped an incredibly diverse group of filmmakers, showing them the power of public television and how impactful it can be for their films. He's also guided many of them to their first regional Emmy submission, their first regional Emmy nomination, and a whole heck of a lot of Emmy wins for filmmakers. He's also convinced us of the reach of public television, reminding me that the number of folks who go to a Dolphin game throughout a season it really pales in comparison to somebody watching my half-hour show on public television one evening. And he's right. Knowing that public television is the last stronghold for community access to the airwaves, he's literally empowered an independent filmmaking community in South Florida to make work. He made it clear that after we made work and showed our films at film festivals, there was a home for us at the station at WPBT for great local indie content with the potential to reach wide audiences. That's the legacy he's created in South Florida. And I have to say that it's his encouragement that's kept me going, continuing to make work about art and artists, which is pretty much what I do and when I make films. It's hard to overstate the impact that granting that kind of access has had on the independent content producers in our community. There are so many local creators now telling local stories for local audiences, with their end goal to be having a world premiere on WPBT. For that, we're all eternally grateful. Now, recently, he's taken on a new challenge, joining the Programming Service, which programs public television. It's a nonprofit organization and for stations around the country. And Neil and his team of programmers he oversees now help program for stations comprising close to 50% of the audiences in America. That's one powerful position, in case you're not sure. But he doesn't just manage his programming team. He is still in the trenches, programming a number of stations, big and small. He gets up every morning and programs away, setting schedules. I can speak from personal experience, though. He's always there for a new indie content producer to take a look at your piece, give you some advice, and help you get it seen on the air. This award really sums up his career completely, honoring him for his decades of service in the nonprofit world, his commitment to excellence, and his willingness to help others. This is exactly what the Silver Circle Award is about, meant to acknowledge, and so we're now going to go to Neil's kind of bar mitzvah video you'll see here. So.
Hey, do you know Neil Hecker? You mean the Neil Hecker that has an impressive 30-year career in public media, earning himself several accolades and the respect of his colleagues everywhere he went? Yes. Do you know him? Of course I know Neil. I worked with him for like forever.
We worked on the first PBS online platform. It was South Florida. It was called YouView. Nobody believed that TV online was possible. At the time, everybody was watching TV on an actual TV. Nobody really believed in it except Neil. And until today, in my career, sometimes I think of Neil and I'm wondering, okay, what would Neil do? What would Neil say?
One of the things that Neil excelled at was developing web content for WPBT. He was constantly out in the field, filming special events, meetings, public gatherings.
We were so fortunate to recruit Neil to join Channel 2 as our program director during my time there, where Neil made so many meaningful contributions.
Remember those E.F. Hutton commercials? When Neil Hecker talks, people listen. Why? Well, he is a funny dude, but beyond that, he is a professional programmer, content creator, and content curator with 100% mastery over his craft. I'm proud to call you a friend. You're my main mensch.
I was working on a documentary in 1997 with Channel 2. What I remember is we needed a lot of resources. I remember him arranging studio space for us and chroma keys and other resources that we needed for the program.
Your contributions to the entire PBS system are priceless. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your smarts and that wicked sense of humor to keep us all moving in the right direction. In fact, I would say you are worth your weight in gold, not just silver.
He's had a great deal to do with our record ratings in South Florida and beyond. This recognition is wonderful, but still not enough to match what he's done for us.
Of all the wonderful people I had the opportunity to work with, You were by far the best boss I ever had, hands down.
Even if you don't always schedule the programs that I come to you with, you are one of the best, and this is very well deserved.
He was a great boss in all aspects. He was always kind, always there to listen.
Neil is just the kindest, most giving person.
Good evening, everyone. I was producing for Nightly Business Report, and you were over at South Florida PBS running programming. I would escape to your office when things got crazy in the afternoons in the newsroom, and I can't tell you how much that little dose of sanity meant to me.
You have been also an incredible friend to me. You're one of the few people I know that I can make Odd Couple references to and gets it, but you're also funny, charming, smart, and very gracious. You're a true leader.
I was your director doing a life pledge, and I don't know if you remember me always telling you, Neil, smile, and your response to me always was, I am smiling. And you really were not smiling, but to you, that was smiling.
He's always looking to the future and trying to figure out ways to bring the best of the newest technology and future innovations to public television, just to make sure that we have the best platforms possible to interact with our communities.
We worked for decades at Channel 2, and I can't think of anyone who deserves it more, buddy. Congrats again.
When we went on an Art Loft shoot and you let me tag along with the team, it was great to see all the behind the scenes stuff, to see you in action. Very well deserved, my friend.
Because of you, the cultural landscape in South Florida and all throughout Florida is richer.
How often in your career do you win the Silver Circle? I think it's only once, right? I remember you were always pleasant to work with. You had great knowledge of film, television, movies, and baseball.
I can't even begin to describe what your mentorship and guidance has meant to me as a filmmaker. You're still showing guidance to me and so many of the other filmmakers in our community. Your willingness to give us a chance to let us be on public television has been a very, very important component of my practice and so many others in town.
You know our audiences better than anyone else, and you're totally making a difference.
When I think of Neil, I think of a person who's really funny, that doesn't ever appear that he's trying to be funny. I think of the person who has to answer my phone calls, even when I'm sure he really doesn't want to.
I really appreciate the openness and your willingness to experiment on projects. I really look back on our UView days and think of just how much fun and how much creativity we were able to do on that project. And it was a really good time.
You were committed to the station's production department and its original productions. And you know what else I remember? Always misspelling your name. It took me a few tries, but you knocked it into my head eventually.
There's no one who knows public television better than Neil Hecker.
Hi Neil, congratulations on this amazing honor.
Neil, congratulations. From the bottom of my heart, you are a great mentor.
Neil, my heartfelt congratulations goes out to you for this very much deserved recognition.
Congratulations, Neil.
On behalf of all of us at South Florida PBS, congratulations on this well-deserved honor. You are one of the most strategic, smartest, but kind-hearted leaders that I've ever known. We're also grateful to you for all you've done, not only for us at South Florida PBS, but throughout the nation.
Wow, that was something. Yeah, I'm a little lost for what to say. So many great faces, so many people I've worked with over the years that I need to be thankful for. My first paying job in television, I actually worked for somebody who worked with Ernie Kovacs in Philadelphia. So, I don't take any credit for the great innovations that Kovacs brought to our industry, but I take pride in being just 1 degree of separation from that great genius. Unfortunately, I found a lot of innovation and genius when I came to Miami, to WPBT in the late 1990s. Without knowing very much about the history of the station, I landed in the birthplace of Que Pasa USA, which was made television history as the first bilingual sitcom in the late 70s. The first place that put cameras in the courtroom long before there was a thing called Court TV. Anybody remember Court TV? No. The Nightly Business Report was launched there in 1979, and who would have thought that audience would watch a half-hour business show? Now there are half a dozen 24/7 business channels in North America alone, and many, many more across the world. So innovation and genius were things that I always looked for and found in South Florida, in the home there. I did get a chance to play a role in a couple of great ideas, and a lot of it was thanks to Dennis and the Knight Foundation and the funding there. You saw UView, which was really the great divide of broadcast television into the internet age, and it's hard to believe it was just about 10, 12 years ago that online video didn't exist, and we busted the 24/7 linear broadcast world and expanded our ability to serve the community. And now I find myself kind of on the opposite end of the state, but still at a springboard for innovation. The programming service for public television was an idea born of the Florida PBS stations and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It was something funded by the Future Fund for Corporation of Public Broadcasting, and to this day, it is the only existing project they've funded some 25 years later. Again, a remarkable story of ideas and innovation, and for that I have to be thankful to the founder of the programming service, Mike Seymour, and my current boss, Babette Davison. But I want to thank Dennis for his friendship and help over the years, to actually thank George Dooley and Jack Gibson for giving a guy from Brooklyn a chance to come to South Florida, which I guess Jews from New York always do eventually, but I want to thank Rick Schneider and Dolores Sigdeo for allowing me to run with some crazy ideas over the years, and the team at Channel 2. So many of you are here today for all your help and support, and Joyce for continuing those visions and improving on all of them. So thank you. And I want to thank Rachel, my wife, now taking on the second half of my life and making it wonderful. So thank you all, and thanks.
Congratulations, Neil. Now please welcome our next presenter, Donovan Campbell, WSVN sports reporter, anchor, Miami, Florida.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. You guys are beautiful, right? Come on, we got to bring the energy up in here just a little bit. You know, sports guys, we do things a little bit different. You know, that's just how we do it. We like to have a lot of fun. We're at the end of the show, so we're here to entertain. Right now we're in the middle, so my job is to entertain, and that's what I plan on doing. All right, I can't tell you how honored I am to introduce my friend, colleague, mentor, and journalist, photojournalist extraordinaire, Peter Hoffner, into the Silver Circle. And since this is the second time I've been dubbed to do this dubious task, you know, I got to do it for Steve Shapiro a few years ago. He's also in the audience. Another one of my television grandfathers, because these guys are so old. You know, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's our, relax. It's really special to induct these guys into television royalty. And today's Peter's turn. Peter's being honored for 25 years in this market. But he's actually been in this market almost 40 years, 39 to be exact. Think about that for a minute. And doing the same thing of broadcast excellence in South Florida. But really, he's been in the market since Christ was born. That's just honest to God truth. No, seriously, Peter's accolades consist of filming dinosaur racing to the first Olympic Games in 1896. You guys can laugh, it's okay. The consummate professional, Peter works tirelessly. His 12-hour work days for back-to-back weeks are legendary. The man just, for some reason, doesn't like to go home. He likes to hang out with us at the office. Not sure if it's good or bad, but many of those hours are spent with me, being his reporter. I mean, we spend a lot of countless hours together where Pete and I talk about family, life, everything under the sun, his wealth of knowledge and wisdom. I mean, the man knows a little about everything, and I'm being honest. He knows a little bit about everything, but when you're in this business as long as Peter, I mean, it's expected, right? And he always gives sound advice, although sometimes it's a little crude, because if you guys know Peter, he's one of a kind, very unique. You'll see that when he comes up here. He's definitely one of a kind. We're like a dynamic duo, like Black Man and Robin, Me being Robin, of course. Honestly, I'm surprised he hasn't passed over his camera yet for his AARP card, but that's Peter. Like most people in the industry, locally, Peter is special, and you'll see that when he gets over here. I've only been here 15 years, and we spent more time together than with our families. And I love spending time with my family, and honestly, I spend way too much time with Peter. And the other guys in the sports office, for that matter. You're talking about thousands and thousands of hours. You're talking about thousands of VOSOTs, thousands of VOs, thousands of live shots, you name it, just me and Peter. But nothing we both enjoy together more than covering high school sports throughout South Florida. Yes, we do, especially our coverage of Friday Night Lights. Mr. Friday Night right here, my man, Peter. And the highlights of the future stars we call SoFlo Pros, if you ever watch Channel 7. As you've seen previously, no matter how old or young, Peter has had an imprint on every sports reporter or anchor that has come through. You'll see that in the video that we're gonna play. It's safe to say in the past century, since Peter is the man that knows a little bit, like I said, about everything, he has helped all of us become better sports journalists, smarter people, and better people. And while most of our stories we can't really share in mixed company because, like I said, sports guys are a little bit different. Thank you, Alice, for giving us our own office because I don't know, we'd definitely be upstairs a few times. Like the time we were driving to Homestead and listening to sports talk radio, and one of our associate producers, they called into the radio station and really just jibed the radio host. The guy had no idea that he was being spoofed. Peter and I literally had to pull over because we knew it was one of our APs after the second time he did it. And if we didn't pull over, Peter would have wrecked the car. We were laughing and hitting it. I'm surprised that the airbags didn't come out. That's how bad it was. It was pretty funny. We picked up on the voice and immediately we knew it was Glenn Robbins. To this day, I don't know how, like I said, the airbags didn't employ. Then we have the infamous story of when Peter fell off the loading dock while we were at the boxing gym in Dania. Yes, it's not a story we like to relive, but considering Peter shattered his ankle and was out of work for a year, in true Peter fashion, with his ankle dangling off his foot, and the shock still settling in, Peter says, "Hey, I didn't break the camera." He was worried about the camera while his leg is literally dangling. I close with this. To Peter's wife, Jan, who's still stuck in traffic, I hate to tell you this, but your husband will never retire. He just won't go. So thank you for sharing him with us for all these years and years to come. Peter, you already know you're my man, 100 grand. I have nothing but love for you. And for those who believe rapper Tupac Shakur is still alive, word is Peter does know where he's hiding out. Guys, Peter Hoffner.
Your 2022 Silver Circle honoree, Peter Hoffner.
When it comes to stats, WSVN's Peter Hoffner certainly qualifies as one of the GOATs of South Florida sports photogs. With nearly 4 decades behind the camera at SVN, plus stops in Fort Myers and Birmingham, Alabama, his lens has captured more than 650 Dolphin games, 300 UM football games, 15 Super Bowls, 4 NBA Finals, 3 Kentucky Derbies, 2 World Series, and a Stanley Cup Final, not to mention several college football national title games. Over his career, he's brought history's biggest sports stars home to viewers and been an eyewitness to some of the game's biggest moments. But if you ask Peter what he's most proud of, it's the sports department's coverage of our community's future stars who play their hearts out under the lights at our local high schools. Along the way, he's worked side by side with some of the best sportscasters, producers, and photogs in the business, whom he's proud to call his friends.
Peter Hoffner, the man who even before the advent of smartphones knew the location of every Dunkin' Donuts across the U.S. 5 minutes out of the rental car lot, he would have a cup of coffee in his hand. I got to Miami young, naive, and not very worldly. I had a bad habit of swinging the microphone by its cable. Peter asked me if I thought I was Roger Daltrey. Who? I responded. Exactly, he said. Who again? It was like a bad Abbott and Costello skit. I remember a time we were on the Florida Turnpike for a road trip. The station was beating us up. This was during the height of the Drew Carey show. Peter slammed the steering wheel and said, "Drew Carey gets paid millions for what I go through every single day." Peter, you should be paid 10 times that amount for being one heck of a photographer, a mentor, a de facto father-like figure to me, and one funny, all-around terrific guy. Congratulations, Peter. You earned this. You deserve this.
Pete, congratulations on your award. We have worked together for, 25 years now? A lot of memories, a lot of good times, but my favorite memory happened in Buffalo We'd go to Buffalo a lot for the Dolphins-Bills games. We're in the parking lot. It's snowing. You hit a pole, and you go, now what? What are we going to do? I said, I don't know, Pete. What are we going to do? Well, we got to go get some Bondo. I got to fix it. I go, what do you mean you got to fix it? Sure enough, we found Bondo, and he patched up the side of the car, the rental car, and somehow they took it back. Congratulations, Pete.
Mr. Peter Hoffner, it's Jim Barry and the CBS 4 Sports crew congratulating you on being inducted into the Silver Circle of Excellence. You silver fox, you. You are one of the hardest working people we know, and I just want to let you know, man, all of us respect the work ethic that you bring each and every day. Right, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you're at a shoot, a game, one of the most favorite people you see there is Peter Hoffner.
Yep.
So, Pete, go ahead, take a day off.
No.
I'm telling you, take a day off.
He'll never do it, Leo. He'll never do it. Hey, listen, Pete, yeah, you and I, man, go way, way back from my days at Channel 7. You helped get me launched in this market, man. I really appreciate you and helped me get where I am today as a black man in America today.
So it's your fault, Peter. All this is your fault.
That's an inside joke, Pete. Everybody may not get that. But listen, man, congratulations to you. Certainly well-deserved, long overdue. And if anybody deserves it, man, it is you.
Congratulations.
So I'll apologize up front. I'm on vacation and every bit the hot mess, but I could not let this pass without reaching out to say congratulations to Peter for being honored. If there's anybody in the world who cares less about an honor than Peter Hoffner, I've never met them. But Peter, I hope you can at least take a measure of joy from the fact that so many people do want to honor you. I go back to my very first days in television. I was an intern at SVN, and somehow through the good fortune of God's guidance got paired with Peter, and he taught me everything to this day, I think, that I've known about television for the last 3.5 decades. But the one that really sticks out to me, when I really learned how it all works and how important a great photographer is to anybody's career, we were doing this tour around the state of Florida. We were doing a college football preview, Florida, Florida State, Florida A&M, all the schools, Miami, and we had a satellite truck. And so we're coming down from, I think, Florida State in the satellite truck when we get a call from the station. Remember, this is before the app days and the GPS days. And the station calls Peter and says, hey, there's a hurricane that's supposed to hit Tampa. You guys have to cover it. You guys? Peter and me. I'm like a part-time employee at that point. I can barely do football stories. I have no idea how to cover a hurricane. And so, Peter jumps on it, and he puts me behind the wheel and says, you drive the truck and just don't drive over any down power lines. Well, how the hell will I know if they're down power lines or we're driving through 6 feet of water? Peter guides me through the whole thing. We get to the coastline. It's pitch black. It's raining sideways. He says, okay, go stand over there and say ballpark this. And he kind of gives me the lines to say. So I say that, looking at the camera. Come back, he says, okay, track this, track that, track that. He puts together this unbelievable package. Well, by the time we get back to Miami, they so love the package, I get a full-time job. He did all the work. And that's how it's always been. To this day, anytime I'm lost, anytime I'm wondering, what do I do now? I literally just think, if Peter Hoffner was with me, what would he tell me to do? So Peter, all I can say is after all these years, you are still my muse. You are still the person who's taught me how television works. And the days I got the chance to work with you are the days that I consider myself the luckiest. So I know you hate being honored. I know you hate when people make a big deal out of you. I love you. Congratulations. You're all that and more.
See, a good photographer still laughs at all your stupid jokes. He knows what you take in your coffee. He knows what kind of donuts that you like. He knows if you wake up with a puffy face when you're traveling on the road. That's Pete Hoffner. Welcome to the club, my brother. Well deserved. But this is the kind of club, this is where you want to end up right here. This, Pete, is Club Freedom. Congratulations, Pete, and thank you for everything that you've done.
From all your friends at Channel 7 and colleagues past and present, congratulations, Peter, on being honored with the 2022 Natus Silver Circle Award.
This is where the whole afternoon goes to. Oh, God, I forgot my props. First time. I got to go get my props. This is so undeserved. Okay, hold on.
Told you, the man's unique. One of a kind. Peter Hoffner, ladies and gentlemen.
This is amazing. I haven't been honored for anything, ever. And last time I was honored for anything, it was the 6th grade. I was the most improved bowler. And full disclosure, because we are in this business, I had the flu one week. I bowled like a 30. So the numbers were bound to go up, and I got this prestigious award, but they spelled my name wrong. Let me check. Good. Okay. This is amazing. I'm nervous as hell, and I don't do this. I do this for them. I would like to say one thing about this guy, because what you did not see in that video is that when this guy showed up, Donovan Campbell, somebody helped all of us. Everybody in this room, we've all been helped by somebody who got us along in this business, who took time to teach us, show us, and together he came up with the idea that we would get interns back. And we had interns every summer. And at this point, I think we must have at least a dozen kids. They're not kids, well, they're all kids to me. Look at me, for God, Jesus. I mean, from West Texas to Atlanta to Fort Myers to Boise, we got a dozen kids out there because of this guy. Would find them, I would shoot their stand-ups, and they got jobs. And that means a lot to us. And as he mentioned, our high school coverage. Now, my wallet. It's kind of cheap. It's just a little hotel thing. Shapiro taught me this. There's some people here today, like Craig, probably monitoring what I'm going to say because I am a little left of center, as you can tell. And I'm not going to say anything controversial. Because if I did, I'd be cutting the grass at Guantanamo. And, but I will say this. The Channel said the much maligned Channel 7 Sports Department, when we put our heads together and we work together, we do some amazing things. On the other hand, we do occasionally call in sick. So Shappy, I know for a fee you're available. No storm duty, please, right? But I don't know. This is just, I'm the damn sports guy. I take pictures. That's what I do. There's people that have helped me. I didn't go to school for this. I think it was welding. There are people that have helped me along the way, photojournalists, video, stills, that, I mean, it's just too numerous to mention. And this has been a thrill because all I do is sports. We're the scourge in the newsroom, but we make it work. And 39 years of mediocrity, covering mediocre teams. But there's some photogs here today that I'd like to. One of them couldn't be here, Ross Noble. I wish he was in this group. And the other guy is Scott Tobin, and he should be eventually. But that's about it. I'm just thrilled to death. This is amazing. I know everybody's mentioned all these beautiful people that have helped them. I would like to congratulate the rest of my honorees. I'm so proud of my dog. That's all I can really, I'd be nowhere without my dog. Our daily walks, you know, they mean the world.
Dr. Doolittle.
That's it, Dr. Doolittle. I love animals. All right, we're done. Okay, thank you.
Here, man, I'll get your props. You take that, I'll get your props.
Oh, stand for a picture. My man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to by yourself?
No, man, come on, Black Man and Robin.
Please welcome our next presenter, Jeff Yasteen, publisher, Hillsborough Capital Research, LLC.
Well, I'm privileged and honored to make a little introduction here for my friend and former colleague, Mike Malanga. Mike and I worked together for 17 years of his 26 years at WPBT, and we were part of the team that helped put out the news on Nightly Business Report, which, as Neil was saying a few minutes ago, was doing business news at a time when almost nobody else was doing it. And again, it was like, you think about career highlights for me as a anchor and former reporter and what I do now. One of the career highlights really was working with Mike for that time, 1993 to 2010 or so. So I'll just relate a couple of brief stories here in the time allotted. So one story, with photographers. Number one, you notice on the book there, it says photojournalist. And for Mike, that's always been the key with him. Somebody always knew he wanted to be a photojournalist, and with the emphasis really on the journalist part. Somebody who really was focused on being a journalist who happened to carry a camera. And as a team, I wouldn't even say that Mike was my photographer or photojournalist. Really, I was his reporter, is probably the better way to put it. Brief story, my very first day on the job. So the biggest market I had ever worked in up to that point was in Raleigh-Durham. And so joining the staff of Nightly Business Report, which at the time had bureaus in Washington and in New York and Chicago and LA and Tokyo, and I was like the guy, the general service guy who worked out of Miami doing whatever kind of news we could find that would have a national audience for the national business audience that we had there. And so we were doing some sort of insurance story. First day on the job, 1993. And we pull up downtown someplace to one of the big buildings, and Mike's getting his gear out of the back of the van, and he takes his camera out first. And the camera is like, when you're working small markets, the cameras, all the equipment's run down, it's terrible, right? The images don't come off very well. Mike takes his camera out, and it's this beautiful, beautiful new camera. It's got the pistol grip on it with the little rocker arm for the zoom lens and all that. All the gear is just gorgeous, and he's got this fuzzy light on top, brand new, and this beautiful big boom mic, it's mounted on there. So when I'm like looking at his gear, I'm like, wow, I've made it. This is like network, and it really was network. So Mike takes his camera out and puts it down on the ground next to the van, and then I did the one thing that a reporter never does. I committed the cardinal sin. Does anybody know what that is? I touched the camera. I was looking at the camera and I thought, that looks a little too close to the van door. And so I'm gonna move it. I moved it about 6-8 inches while Mike's busy taking out all of his other stuff. And then Mike puts his handle on the van door, it's one of the sliding things, slams it shut, and what happens, it like shears off the top of the fuzzy light goes, the boom mic is busted, the camera falls over, and I'm thinking, oh man, first day on the job. And Mike could have easily said, like, what kind of clowns are they sending me these days? For me coming from the biggest market was Raleigh-Durham. And instead, again, with a photographer, photojournalist, one of the keys is that unflappability to work in any kind of situation under any stress. And so Mike, I think he took a deep breath. I don't think he said a word, and essentially gave me a second chance, number one, to know, always trust that guy in almost any situation. He always had it figured out, and he always did. And like they say at the end of Casablanca, it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Another brief story that speaks to who Mike is. This is like 2006 or so. We'd gone out to Omaha to cover the Warren Buffett Berkshire Hathaway shareholder conference, which is a big deal. And I figured while we're out there, well, I'll schedule some other business news stories in an area, the Great Plains, that nobody ever goes out there to do stories. So Mike and I drive all the way out to the far western edge of Nebraska, some little town that maybe 100 years ago was a farming town. It maybe had 2,000 people in it. Now it's down to its last 200 people or so. We roll in the town, we get a couple of interviews done, and there's one little hotel there It's called like a Bates Motel sort of place, but it's run by these two elderly sisters. And we drop off our gear and we're about to go to the one little diner in town. And the sisters come out and say, "Oh, we're sorry, the diner just closed. They shut off the gas and the guy who owns the place went home. But we'll cook you dinner." And Mike and I are like, "Okay." And they're like, "Well, our nephew just went out to the reservoir and wrestled like a catfish out of the, when you like stick your hand in a hole in the water in a swamp and you pull a catfish out." So they had these like catfish fillets. "We'll make you catfish." And like, okay, I mean, what else are we gonna do, right? But the thing about working with Mike was he's always up for, one, the challenge when you're out shooting, but secondly, understood some of those things that at the time we probably didn't appreciate it, but we look back now, we're like, that's part of that fun, unexpected element of being out there. And the other thing about Mike is we would go off and do long trips, right, by air, by car, whatever. We were in Cuba twice, we were in Panama, traveled across good stretches of the U.S. And I have to tell you that I was always as happy seeing him in the newsroom the day after our trip ended as I was during the rest of the thing. When you're traveling a lot together, as everybody knows, you see each other at the best and worst. And there really is no worst with Mike. He really is just a super great guy and a great photographer who always has that element of knowing when to take the camera off the tripod and start floating around. And to give you a sense of Mike, even now, when I was talking to him here, we're used to shooting hundreds of CEOs and white muckety-muck guys, big shots, tons and tons of analysts and all that. And Mike very much still in demand as a freelance photojournalist. And one of his latest gigs was shooting mixed martial arts somewhere in, where was that, Miami? Yeah, so it shows you the range of Mike's abilities as a photojournalist. And I was just so privileged, and Mike, I'm just so happy that you've received this great award. And with that, let's go ahead and roll the video for Mike.
Malanga.
Our journey together began many years ago at Storer Communications, where we were co-workers in the production department. We quickly became good friends, which has thankfully endured all these many years.
He is the type of person, when you go to a scene that's just an average, boring setup, he is so talented with the lights, he will make that place look spectacular. He will go above and beyond, no matter what it takes, to make an interview or whatever it might be look the best possible way. And he's just a real pleasure to work with.
Through Nightly Business Report, I had the opportunity to work with a very talented, smart, and savvy videographer. Over the years, Mike Malanga covered a variety of stories, sometimes from around the country, and sometimes I got to go along. We went to places like Omaha, Nebraska for coverage of the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting. We went all the way to Maui to cover a supercomputer and all of the development going on. Mike has such a great eye for video. But beyond that, he really studies and learns the topic, in this case, business news, and it shows in his work.
Knowing that the package was always going to make air as you put together those last minute edits on things as we got close to the 6:30 airtime. Having you in my corner as a producer was just huge.
The Mike Malanga I know was always up for an adventure. He wanted to see the world through a viewfinder, bring it back into an editing booth, and share it with an audience. You always brought good humor, your level of expertise, great judgment, high ethics, and above all, your sense of humanity.
The thing that I loved about working with Mike was his enthusiasm and his ingenuity. When we did the Mississippi River series, we drove up to the headwaters. Mike had manufactured a dolly so we could use it for our opening shot for the series. Who would go to that trouble to do that? Mike would.
Some of my best memories working with you is taping the Fort Lauderdale Christmas pageant. How many of those did we do? Over 25. And it was always so much fun to see you on stage dressed as a shepherd.
I remember the first time I met you, Mike. It was back in 1999, and we were working on the Christmas pageant. You were working your handheld magic as usual, and I was pulling utility for you. There was something all over my hands, and I was like, what is it? Lights came up, and then I looked down at my hands, and it was full of probably camel poop. Fast forward 23 years, I'd do it all over again, buddy. Honestly, to me, what's so great about working with you is you're such a great person. You're always optimistic, and you're always happy to be there.
Honestly, you're one of the first people that comes up when I'm asked who affected me in my career. Your work ethic, the way that you always give everything to every shoot, it's admirable, and I'm just grateful to have been a part of your journey.
I've always enjoyed and loved working with you. You always are willing to give a helping hand, advice. You come with such experience and knowledge. Never less than 100% comes from you.
You're such a consummate professional. You not only shoot and edit beautifully, but when we're doing the interview, you bring your insights. When I say, anybody else have any questions? You always show up, raise your hand and say, yeah, I got one.
This is Malanga's new toy.
While I'm very happy to see Mike receive this well-deserved award which recognizes Mike's long career, I'm actually more proud of him being a great family man and honored to be a part of his life beyond the glitz and glamour of the entertainment business.
You know, I love you, brother. We always have fun at work. We love what we do.
Hi, Mike. Congratulations. I wanted to tell you that I got you your own mug for your extra foo-foo coffee. Take care, Mike. Big kiss.
It's always been a pleasure to work with you over the years, whether at the station or in the freelance world.
Any production that you're part of, it's already better because you're there.
I can't think of anybody more deserving of this kind of honor.
Mike, congratulations on tonight's recognition.
We are so proud of you. Congratulations to you and your family for this very well-deserved award.
So standing up here reminds me of how much I prefer being behind the scenes instead of speaking in front of a group of people. First, thank you, Jeff, for your introduction. For 17 of my over 26 years at PBS's nightly business report as a senior photojournalist and editor, I got to work with Jeff. He very patiently put up with all my ideas and suggestions for stories. Sometimes he even let me make suggestions for changes to his scripts, to let me insert Nat sound breaks or some specific shot sequence that I really liked. Very importantly, he and I learned the location of every all-you-can-eat Pizza Hut lunch buffet in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach locations. Jeff was a pleasure to work with, and I'm so very happy that he's my friend and that he really likes pizza. Second, I need to thank my daughter, Nicole. She produced and edited the video you just saw. In fact, she's so good that she was asked to produce and edit 3 of the videos you watched today. She's already earned 2 Emmys of her own, and she's also a very talented editor, videographer, and photographer. My other daughter, Elizabeth, is also a very talented photographer and writer. She's a student at USC in Los Angeles, speaks Spanish and Korean, and just got accepted into the master's program at USC. She smartly is not planning to work in television. A giant thank you to my wife, Helene. She's always patiently listened to my stories of a great stand-up Jeff and I had shot, or some B-roll that I had been especially happy with, or my description of some drama I'd shot backstage at a reality show I was working on. I met Helene at a job where she was one of the freelance camera operators. I was in charge of scheduling the freelancers. I'm not the one who hired her, but I just got to schedule her. We just celebrated our 34th wedding anniversary. She's truly amazing. I've shot in 32 states and 3 countries. I've traveled 22 times to Omaha to shoot exclusive interviews with Warren Buffett. I spent 21 days in the New Orleans area after Hurricane Katrina, helping to shoot an hour special for PBS. I got to spend a week in Hawaii shooting a 5-part series there, and a very busy 5 days in Las Vegas shooting a 6-part series. Twice, Jeff and I went to Cuba for a week. On one of those trips, I accidentally smacked Fidel Castro in the back of the head with my lens. It was a very crowded room, and it was an accident. I got to shoot a stand-up with Jeff at the bottom of a drained lock at the Panama Canal. We even shot from inside a large leaking dam in Tennessee. And we got nominated for a National Emmy for News. The last 9 years I've been working as a freelance handheld camera operator, mostly on network unscripted entertainment shows. I've worked on the Spanish editions of The Voice, MasterChef, Dancing with the Stars, Billboard Music Awards, and a wide variety of other shows. I've done handheld for the Miss Universe pageant, and I just finished working on a singing competition show for Netflix. I've done professional boxing and MMA championships just on Friday, and a handheld camera on the stage for concerts with Pitbull, Miranda Lambert, Stevie Wonder, Keith Urban, and many others. I've also worked on a lot of network music award shows. One time, we were between rehearsals for an award show, so I sat on the floor in front of the stage with the camera on my lap. I quickly realized that I'd sat on something. I looked behind me. That's when I realized I just sat on the foot of Jennifer Lopez. On one of my first network award shows, about 20 years ago, I was sitting in the venue with the camera on my lap waiting for the next rehearsal to start. A very pretty woman came and sat down next to me. We chatted for a few minutes, and then she got up and left. As soon as she walked away, people rushed over to me. They all asked me, "Do you know who that was?" I said, "No." They said, "That's Shakira." I said, "Well, who's Shakira?" Okay, now I know who Shakira is. I've been working in television for 41 years so far. Well, not really working. To me, it's not work. It's usually a lot of fun, and I'm happy that people are still willing to pay me to have fun. I've been able to travel to places I thought I'd never go, work on shows I'd never thought I'd get to work on, meet people I never thought I'd meet, and work with some of the most creative people in television. I've got an amazing job. Thank you very much for this award.
And now, please join me in welcoming our next presenter, Calvin Hughes, Local 10 anchor, Miami, Florida.
All right. It is tough to outdo Camel Poop and Cover Girl and Black Man and Robin, but I'm going to give it a good shot here. My God. Okay. With a name like Elpidio Humberto Medina, you can understand why we all call him Bert. I'm talking about the president of our TV station. We're proud to call him our boss and our friend, Bert Medina. WPLG president and CEO joined the company in 2013, and no one is more deserving of the Silver Circle Award, we believe, than he is today. Bert began his career in research, and even to this day, he can rattle off demographic data and numbers in his sleep. Maybe, just maybe, his brain is so full of data. That is why he can't remember common expressions that we normally and regularly use. Like most of us would say that the 800-pound gorilla, Bert says the 80-pound gorilla. Or sometimes he says you have to bite the bull by the horns. Or my personal favorite is, you got a bird in the hand, or it's going to fly the coop. We have an entire book of birdisms. Some of them don't even make sense, like the dog that drops the other liver is sharp as a whistle. Perhaps that's the one that he brought with him from the fields of Pinar del Rio. Bert likes to say he was born on an island. Of course, that island was Cuba. He moved to South Florida when he was only 7 years old. This has been his home ever since, except for that Chicago chapter, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. But during his college years, he worked on political campaigns. He also went door to door for Arbitron, convincing people to keep diaries. And one day he was invited to take part in a focus group. He didn't know at the time, but it was a focus group being conducted by WSVN Channel 7. Of course, Bert dominated the focus group and could not stop talking about how much he loved Channel 10. And was a huge fan of Channel 10. A frustrated someone on the other side of the glass sent in a question for the Channel 10 lover, wanting to know what would it take to get him to switch from watching Channel 10 to watching Channel 7. Bert's response was, quote, "Well, if you put Sally and Steve in the shower together, maybe I'll watch." It was the 80s after all. Well, the person who asked that question on the other side of the glass was none other than WSVN General Manager, the late Bob Leiter. Bob could not arrange the shower scene that he talked about, but he did figure out a way to get Bert to become a fan of Channel 10, or Channel 7, I should say. He hired him. Bert began working in the WSVN research department, and Bob never let Bert forget that shower comment. And to this day, Bert remembers Bob and the late Ed Anson as two of the most important people in his professional life. Those two men launched his career. Bert did become a WSVN fan and had a great run at WSVN until Univision came calling. Bert became the general manager at the Univision station in Chicago. He brought a little bit of Miami to Chicago, and that station really came to life. Univision saw his talents, and Bert was named Senior Vice President of Telefaturo Network and came back home to Miami. After running the network for 6 years, in 2011, Bert decided to take an early retirement, but that retirement did not last very long. In 2013, his old Chicago friend Emily Barr, the CEO of Graham Media, called. And would Bert give up the life of leisure for an opportunity to run WPLG, the station he loved from his childhood? Well, normally Bert only makes important decisions in the shower or after he sleeps on them, but this one needed no time to process. It was an offer that he could not refuse. It was simply meant to be. It was destiny for Bert. It was a blessing for all of us at WPLG. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Elpidio Roberto Medina. Bert, our friend, our leader, the biggest fan of WPLG. Like many South Floridians, Bert Medina's story starts 90 miles off the coast.
I actually grew up the first 7 years of my life, at least, on the island of Cuba.
He was only 7 years old when his family arrived here in 1969.
For all intents and purposes, I consider South Florida to be my hometown.
Even as a young boy, Bert knew he wanted to do something in media.
I knew about the age of 11 or 12 that this is what I wanted to do. I had a passion for this business. I would wait for the TV guide to arrive at my local 7-Eleven or U-Totem store, and I would literally paste together the program guides for the 3 networks at the time.
Years later, while paying his way through college, doing door-to-door research, Bert got a call to be a part of a local TV focus group.
I had no idea who the station was at the time.
On the other side of the one-way glass was the late Bob Leiter, general manager of WSVN, who offered Bert his first job in television as a research analyst for the station.
He asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, eventually I want your job.
From there, Bert's career took off. In 1998, he headed to Chicago for his first general manager position with Univision, returning in 2005 to lead the Telefaturo network in South Florida. Then in 2013, he was coaxed out of retirement to take the top spot at the station he had loved since childhood.
This is a Local 10 editorial with WPLG President Bert Medina.
South Florida's natural beauty and resources sustain our lives and our livelihood.
He also had a love of news, serving as editor-in-chief of his high school newspaper, and years later, an adjunct professor at FIU.
And to this day, I still get feedback from some of my students from those classes.
Beyond his story of professional accomplishments, Bert has faced personal challenges. At the age of 22, he was diagnosed with Marfan syndrome, a potentially deadly congenital heart condition.
Marfan syndrome is something that has affected me personally, but it's also affected many members of my family. I lost my uncle at the age of 49 and my mom at the age of 52.
He's had his own brush with death during multiple surgeries to repair his heart back in 2012.
I died multiple times, and they brought me back. And yes, I spent 2 months in the hospital without being able to get out of a bed. Suffice to say that I am here because the good Lord wants me to be here, and my mission has not been completed.
A big part of that mission is to help others. Among his many charitable efforts, Bert serves on the board of the Marfan Foundation and takes an active part in raising awareness about the disease.
And now it's not unheard of for somebody that has Marfan's to live into their 70s and 80s and beyond. So the life expectancy is pretty much normal, whereas 20, 30 years ago, life expectancy was actually in the 40s and early 50s. So it has affected my life, but I have been very blessed that I've been able to live a full and complete life.
Living life to the fullest has included embracing his love of travel, visiting all 50 states, all 7 continents, a total of more than 100 countries.
It's like having an open encyclopedia of knowledge, but living it. And the wealth of knowledge and information that I've been able to gather from that has been priceless.
After more than 37 years in the television business, Bert says the biggest reward isn't in the numbers, the revenues, or the ratings. It's in the people he's met along the way.
I would have to say that I consider myself to be the luckiest man alive. I'm living the best life one can live that is surrounded by loved ones, family, and friends. And I couldn't have dreamed of a better career path for me than the path that I've been on and that I'm still on. If I'm fortunate enough to have a legacy, I certainly hope that it's all about the lives touched along this journey.
Good afternoon, everyone. He is certainly last, but not least. I have the pleasure of accepting this award for our CEO and President, Bert Medina. He asked me to accept the award on his behalf, and of course I said I would humbly do so, that I was humbled by that request. He also is my boss and signs my paychecks, so kind of had to do it. But I mean, in all seriousness, this is a true honor to be here in his stead, to represent the station. I am the Director of Community Relations. Bert hired me, and by reasons that were clearly stated in the video, he could not be here with all of you today, but I can tell you that there was nothing more that he wanted than to be here to accept this award and to share it with all the people throughout his life and career that made this possible. Just want to give you a little glimpse of something that Bert obviously will not share about himself, but he is a true humanitarian. He is an incredible person. WPLG is a Berkshire Hathaway-owned company. He has sat in the boardrooms of the who's who of Berkshire Hathaway, including Warren Buffett, with Warren Buffett himself. But you will also find Bert Medina in the conference room of that station at 3401 Pembroke Park, in Pembroke Park, sitting with interns, having lunch with them for 2 hours, asking and answering their questions. He is an incredible person physically. He is long and lean, but inside, his love, his generosity, his compassion, and his vision for television are limitless. He is an outstanding person, and I'm just very honored and glad that for those who do not know him, you got to know him a little bit today. Thank you so much for staying, for being here, for the very last video presentation, but certainly first in our hearts as our leader and as our friend, Bert Medina. Thank you so much.
Well, we've come to the end. Thank you all for a lovely afternoon and for sharing the special moments of this year's Silver Circle Awards. I would like to thank Carla McDonald and her husband Wayne, Victor Fernandez, Stacy Panson, and John Mays for helping to make this event a reality. Thank you for being here. We hope you had a wonderful afternoon. Good night.